In this video, we're going to be talking about solving a system of equations in two variables by using the substitution method. Now, the substitution method means that we are going to be substituting in some value for one of the variables. Looking at this first example here, we want to identify the variable that would be easiest to get alone. So notice that the x has a 2 for a coefficient, a -4. This y has a -9, but this y just has a -1 coefficient. This one would be the easiest to get by itself. So I'm going to start by solving one of the two equations, whichever one's easiest, for one of the variables. It could be x, it could be y. So I'm going to choose the first equation since it's going to be easiest to get this y alone. So 2x minus y equals 13. If I want to get y alone, I need to subtract 2x from both sides. I still have this negative here, don't lose it. Negative y equals -2x plus 13, or you could write 13 minus 2x, means the same thing. And lastly, I need to get rid of that negative, divide everything by -1. So -2 divided by -1 is a positive 2x. Positive 13 divided by -1 would be -13. Now that I have this equation solved for y, and I used it from the first equation, I'm going to substitute this expression in to this second equation. We know y equals 2x minus 13. I'm going to put this in for y. I'm going to substitute it in for that y in the second equation. I cannot plug it into the equation I got it from. I have to plug it into the other equation. So 4x minus 9, I'm replacing y with 2x minus 13, since that's what y equals, and that will equal 7. Now I have a linear equation with just one variable, and I can solve for x. I'm going to distribute that 9, so -4x, and I have a -9 times 2x will be -18x. -9 times a -13 will be positive 117, because I had two negatives there, still equal to 7. I'll combine my like terms. -4x minus 18x would be -22x. I need to get x alone. I subtract the constant to move it over to the other side of the equation. That's a minus. Now I have -22x equals 7 minus 117 will be a -110. And then I need to divide both sides by a -22. And a negative divided by a negative will end up positive 5. So that's half of the answer. I need to find the other half. Where do I plug this 5 in? It's true, I could plug it in to this first equation or the second equation, like we did previously in the elimination section. However, I already have this nice equation solved for y. So I'm going to plug it in to that. So y equals 2x is 5 minus 13. 2 times 5 is 10. And 10 minus 13 is -3. Ordered pairs always go x, y, so 5, -3. There you go. Again, I could plug these values in to both equations to make sure they end up as true answers and, in fact, the solution to the system. Let's look at the next one on the left. Same thing here. I have to pick a variable that would be easiest to get alone. Looking at these two equations, x would be easy to get alone. but also y would be easy to get alone. I could go either way. I'm just going to go ahead and stick with the first equation. And I want to get this x alone since it's already basically alone with no front coefficient. I will subtract 2y, and x will equal negative 2y minus 6, or you could write negative 6 minus 2y. Same thing. Now I'm going to take this quantity and plug it into my second equation for x, because that's what x equaled. 2 stays the same, replacing x with minus 2y minus 6 plus y equals negative 9. I'm going to distribute. 2 times a negative 2y is negative 4y. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. Everything else stayed the same. I'll combine my like terms. Negative 4y plus y is negative 3y. I need to get y alone. I add 12 to both sides. Negative 3y equals a positive 3. Divide by negative 3. And y equals negative 1. Now that I have my y value, I'm going to substitute that back in to this x equals equation, because now I want to know what x equals. So it goes back up here in for y. X equals negative 2 times, replacing y with negative 1, minus 6. Negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2. And then minus 6 would give me negative 4. So my final answer is negative 4, negative 1. Why don't you try the 2 on the right? So going back up here to this example on the right, we are again using the substitution method. First step is to solve for one of the variables. Done. This equation is already solved for y. Second step, substitute that in to the other equation. So since it's solved for y, this negative 2x plus 4 is going to go into y in the second equation. So negative x plus 2, replacing y with negative 2x plus 4 will equal negative 7. So all I did was take the second equation, and instead of writing y, I wrote what y equals. Distribute. I have 2 times a negative 2x be negative 4x. 2 times 4 is 8. I'm going to combine my like terms. I have negative 1x minus 4x will be negative 5x. I need to get x alone. I subtract 8 from both sides. Negative 5x will equal negative 15. Divide by negative 5. Oops, 5, not 3. And x will equal positive 3. That's half of my answer. Now I need the other half. Again, I take this one that's already solved for y and replace with the x I found. So negative 2 times 3 plus 4. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And then negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. So the final answer is 3, negative 2. Let's try one more. It says solve the, by substitution method. So the question is, which variable is the easiest to get alone? Some students might think this one, this y, because it's already kind of by itself and I would just have to divide by 2. But if I did that, I'm going to end up with some fractions. You can deal with the fractions if you want, but you don't have to, because I could solve for this x here. This x looks like it would be nice and easy to get alone because it doesn't have a coefficient with it. It's not going to give me any fractions. Well, other than -1, but -1 will not give me fractions when I divide by it. So if I add x to the other side to make it positive, and add 2y to this side to get x alone, now this x is gone, this y is gone, and I have x equals a positive 2y plus 6. And no fractions here. If you did use fractions, you could still get the answer right, so don't erase your work. Let's just keep going to see what we get. So solve for one variable, done. Now I have to substitute this into the other equation here. So replacing x with 2y plus 6 in the first equation. Distributing, I have 4y plus 12. And then combining my like terms, that's 9y. Subtracting 12 from both sides to get the y alone. I end up with 3 minus 12 is -9. Divide by 9, so y equals -1. Now, I need to also plug this back into my x equation up here to find x now. So x equals 2, y is -1 plus 6. 2 times -1 is -2 plus 6. So x equals positive 4. I end up with the solution, positive 4, -1. And there you go.